Hi everybody, it's Blood and Plunder week here on beastsofwar.com, and we have 3 fantastic mega bundles up for grabs. These include the rulebook, 2 nation packs of your choice, and the cards that you're going to need to get you and a friend into the game. For your chance to win, get your comments in on any of the Blood and Plunder content this week on Beasts of War, Facebook or YouTube. Winners are announced in an upcoming weekender, so stay tuned. Hi everybody, welcome back to Blood and Plunder week here on Beasts of War. I am of course joined by John and Mike, and today we are looking at the French. So vive la France, I think this might be my faction. So we'll get straight into it. The first thing we have, I believe, is a rather ostentatious looking commander.
Right, so...
He is looking fantastic, I love the clothes.
Yeah, so he's we decided to give him a little bit of a more...
Oh, he's got a bit of panache
robust look. We'll go with robust. Robust?
He's got a bit of panache, a bit of flair. This is fantastic.
So, French commander, he's your generic commander guy. He represents the untested, experienced, and seasoned French commanders.
I see.
As well as some of the characters. So they've got some of the French Buccaneer characters got some fun names. Like we've got Alexandre Brosse de Fer, which is Iron Arm. Then we've got Montbars the Exterminator. So we've got some pretty interesting names for some of those guys.
So French commanders are commanders regardless of where you go. Are there any special rules that a commander will bring with them if it's just one of the generic guys?
So mostly even the generic commanders, especially once you start paying points for them, will have usually a special rule. A lot of the Buccaneer commanders have lead by example. So when their command unit wipes out another unit, all the models all the units in the force are going to get to take a fatigue off their units.
Ah, that's
as
nice.
They've motivated their men by leading from the front, or at least being effective. So.
Okay, so that's interesting. And then, are there any sort of characters that jump out as having really cool special rules for the French?
What do you think, John?
It's up to you, man.
I think it's Iron Arm. Iron Arm is freaking pretty crazy, and of course he's the one that brings the Indios, right?
No, that would be Montbars.
Oh, Montbars. Montbars is one of my favorite because he could bring Indios to the French faction, and Indios are amazing in this game. So
yeah, he's just like, I can bring my Native Americans into the French. Cool, that's the guy I want.
As long as I can sprinkle some in there with musket fire, it's amazing.
Yeah, so that's some of the things that some of the commanders do, is they'll let you kind of change the way your army's built a little bit sometimes. So
it lets me bring in sort of units from other forces the odd time?
Sometimes, yes.
That's a really nice touch, because there's one thing that I know some people really dislike. They'll have a faction and they're locked into that faction. Right. Having that little bit of freedom to branch out and just cherry pick this unit, maybe that unit, yeah, that's quite good.
Well, and that's the normal thing in some of our factions too. Like the French Buccaneers, they can take English freebooters as some support units. So you can't, it's not going to be a large part of your force, but you can include them. Nice.
It lets you put a little bit of flavor in there.
Right.
All right. So our first unit here, who do we have?
So these are the Buccaneer. So these are the cattle hunters, cattle and hog hunters of Hispaniola, who we talked about a little bit earlier. So these guys in the game these are your crack shots. Nobody shoots like these guys.
Yeah.
So they've got a shoot skill of 5. They've got marksman. They've got ball and shot. They've got fast reload. I mean, these guys can just put some withering fire down. They don't like to get into combat. They've got kind of like these, hunting knives and such, and machetes for melee weapons.
Just in case.
Right. But they're generally they're gonna try to hide in the woods or behind some cover and just peck at you from a distance. That's what they do really well.
Okay. Our next unit for the French, who do we have here? Is this their militia?
No, so these are the Filibusters. So these are basically your standard fare French Buccaneers, right? So these guys, they're a little more aggressive than their English counterparts, especially at sea. So they like to get more into combat. While they do maintain really good musketry, they like to brawl more. So they've got a great melee fight skill or fight skill, and they've got braces pistols as well to back it up. So they're going to just be firing pistols and melee. So as we're going to see, pistols and melee give you a really nice bonus.
Yeah. John, do you like these guys?
Oh, those guys are amazing.
Or do you hate to fight against them?
I play with them every so often, but anytime I play with the French, I add 1 or 2 units because of the brace of pistols. I go in there, assault someone if I don't take too much fatigue. So the brace of pistols give me a good defensive weapon, so I could do defensive fire before they charge into me again and keep going.
I see. And because it's a brace of pistols, you're not having to reload on that defensive fire.
Exactly.
Very, very interesting. Okay, next up, who do we have?
All right, so next up, so these are the Militia des Caraïbes. I think I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's okay. So these are your typical fair French Caribbean militia types.
Ah, okay.
So the French militia in the Caribbean, they adopted a lot of stuff from the Filibusters, from the Buccaneers. So these guys are pretty good shots. They like fighting from cover. They can form up into drilled formation and fight that way if they want. And they're issued plug bayonets. So there's some of the first units out in the New World running around with plug bayonets, which are nice on a charge. It basically lets you treat your musket as a spear. Now, another thing they've learned from the Buccaneers is to carry some pistols. So they've got pistols on them as well, sidearm pistols, but they're...
so nice having that pistol shot, just in case you need it. Although the fact that it's a plug bayonet, now, am I right in assuming that it's actually plugging itself down into the barrel of the gun so you can't shoot?
Yep, as you can see on 2 of the models here, the guy on the far left and the far right. So it actually plugs right into the barrel. Okay,
now that has to put you at some kind of disadvantage on the battlefield.
So you got to basically take it out before you fire your musket again, which we just reflect with a reload counter.
Right, I'm sorry, but I imagine at least one French guy in history put a charge down, put the plug bayonet in, and went, right, will this work?
So I believe I've heard of an account of somewhere in Europe in a battle, them just firing their plug bayonets right out of their muskets.
That sounds pretty awesome.
That sounds horrifyingly deadly.
It sounds like it would be dangerous and would probably blow your musket up, but I've heard of that happening. I haven't researched it. Maybe it didn't really happen, although it definitely doesn't seem like a good idea.
I think we should try and add that into the game somehow.
If you are desperate to take a shot, that last gasp, if you have the charge down there and someone's maybe 5 feet away from you, who brings a knife to a gunfight? This is a gun.
I mean, if they're 5 feet away from you, at that point, just kind of push your bayonet at them. So that's what I would do anyway.
Maybe.
Seems safer.
Maybe. All right, so our last unit for the French then, who do we have here?
So here we've got the Marines. So these are French sailors. So French sailors, just like the Filibusters, so the Filibusters get their preference for melee combat from these guys. So these guys are pretty mean in a fight. And like all sailor units, they have the sailor special rule, which lets you pull off some stuff on your ship a little easier. And they can reload cannons pretty efficiently. Not quite as good as the English, but they're still useful to have on the cannons.
All right, cool. So main tactics for the French. What is the one thing in the game they're best at? Because you're saying the other nations are a little more focused than the English. What do the French really focus in on?
So individually, the French units, and one they didn't really touch on here.
Oh, right. Is there another unit I haven't looked at?
Yeah, because we looked at them. It's the same models as the English side. So these are the Buccaneer Storming Party models, which they're going to be the same for the French. Really wouldn't be a difference. So they are the enfants perdus, which is basically the lost children, as the French called their forlorn hopes.
Oh.
So they're a little bit. They're the same kind of thing. Buccaneer guns, brace of pistols, grenades as the English guys, but they're going to run headlong into the fray. They're a little cheaper because they're slightly suicidal.
Okay.
They don't have great saves on anything, but they can get in there and they can just blow things up.
So they're a little bit more glass cannon-like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's nice to see the different little tweaks and stuff between the factions. That yes, we can have these guys, but the English do it better. Yes, we have these guys, and we're actually better than, say, the Spanish or something.
Right, definitely.
All right.
So
main tactics then.
So you got a lot of specialization in your French units here. Not quite as much as we're going to see in the Spanish, because you've got some guys who could do a little bit of both, like the Filibusters. They can shoot pretty well. You don't want to stand in front of their muskets, but they're gonna really excel in combat. So they're gonna really excel in like fighting hand to hand. Whereas your Buccaneers, the Buccaneers are pretty awful at melee combat. Right. So what they want to do is they want to sit and shoot at you, whereas a Forlorn Hope want to blow you up with grenades, or just again get into combat with pistols. So they're pretty much just like upgraded Filibusters essentially.
So I'm guessing Buccaneers in general, if someone's getting too close, you might want to retreat.
Yeah.
Consider march backwards 4 inches and keep shooting.
Correct. Move away and fire.
My suggestion is always try to get rid of these guys first, because if you don't do anything, they're going to mow you down.
Okay, so that's the Buccaneers then, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
And then over to the Militia. The Militia are kind of So they're not great at melee, but they kind of make up for that with their equipment. So they've got the bayonets, they've got the pistols. If they really want to work into melee, you can get them to do something. But again, the French tactic of the militia for the most part was kind of to sit and fire from cover and do it that way.
So is this going to be more of our gun line sort of force?
It's definitely more of a shooty army, but you do have some really solid melee choices in here as well.
All right, well, fantastic. Guys, I'm liking the sound of the French. I'm liking some of the stuff they're having, some of the stuff they're able to bring in. So this might be the one for me. Drop your comments down below. Are you thinking of going along and joining the French forces for Blood and Plunder? We'll move on here. We will see you in the next one. Hi everyone, we hope you're enjoying this themed week. Make sure you don't miss any of it by checking out the playlist, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button to ding our dong so you don't miss any of our videos. Also, come across and join us on beastsofwar.com for more great gaming content and a fantastic community. Also, keep your comments in for your chance to win.